fathers were Brian.
70, I think there was 73 or 4 when he died.
This is a bit of outside Hardy history. This is the old baptism font, because obviously there was a strong Baptist tradition around here. A lot of people have followed Wesley, struck from the church, and they built their own chapel. But if you're going to get baptised, you were going outside in the weather. These were real believers, weren't they? And I bet this weekend would be a popular weekend, being Easter weekend, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? Oh. See the steps as well going down. You see the steps going in. We're going to have a look at a bit of history as well about one of the pastors or one of the ministers that was here. I mean, you had to admire those old ministers though. I mean, they didn't get paid, and you listen to some of the stories of them, and like they'll do the milking first, walk all the way to Burnley, do a sermon, have a glass of milk and walk all the way back. You know, they walk miles and miles. They really, you know, they believed in what they did.
They were brought up to it.
Yeah.
I mean, my mother used to walk from Burnley to Skipton.
Yeah.
At night and think nothing of it.
Wow.
She's an auntie there. And I mean, she's loads of kids and they all used to walk it to Skipton and back. Unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, hell of
Oh, it's a fair high, isn't it?
Just a bit.
Skip 70s. I and most other kids used to walk to school.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you only live across the road.
No, no.
Right away to Fearing.
No.
You wouldn't get a nosebleed.
You're missing the point, Clive. Kids today, nobody walks.
No.
They all get out jumping out of cars.
No, well, we used to catch the bus from the bottom of the road at Goodshire. One bus used to go up way up to Fearns, but if we were saving up to go Manchester to see ATDT or Motorhead and that, we'd walk most of the way and pocket the bus there. But I couldn't believe it when I came back to live with my father when I got divorced. That all these kids now were on in cars.
We used to walk it through Berkeley Hills. I mean, the mountains weren't there then. I mean, it were from Valley, Pundit Road, across Dale Road, then across the wood and Idle. That, I didn't know, I mean, there were all sorts of pork ovens up there then, you know.
So this is Meadowhead Farm, and this is where the Whitehead brothers were born. David, Peter, Thomas, and their other brothers and sisters as well. The dad had been married twice, and David and Peter and his brothers were the sons of the second marriage. But this was his farm, Meadowhead, and it's quite a substantial farm. The Whiteheads have been up for quite a few generations, and they've married into the Ormerod family. So David was born up here around about 1790, 1791. And his mother had gone to see John Wesley, so she really got big in the Methodist religion. That's why the Whitehead brothers were Methodists, really. Now, the father died when they weren't that very old, and the sale of this farm, it managed to keep them for quite a few years. The mother had to go back weaving, but they had income, and the lads had a bit of an income until they came of age. Then it was all divided up. But later on, now I can't remember the name of the guy, so it'll be coming up. I'll put it up. And what's good about this, with David Whitehead being born here, obviously they went into the cotton industry in a big way. They had a hire mill for a start in Rawtenstall. But another guy that came to live here was the first minister. Now he either lived here or he lived in the cottages up there. Like I said, it's hard to tell on the census, so I'll put his name up. But during the 1826 Weavers' Uprising, where Whitehead's mill was attacked, the hire mill and the looms got destroyed, the guy here who became a minister, he was born across the valley at Dunnockshire, and he took part in that uprising. And it said when he became religious and he came living here, he put his scythe up on the wall. I can't remember if it said it's above the fireplace or in his bedroom, but that was the scythe that he'd used in the loom breaking riots. So David Whitehead born here, and then one of the guys that was part and parcel of destroying his looms came to live here later. I love bits of history like that.
Is he there?
Aye, aye.
Yeah, need to have a look down here. It's one of the best farm sellers I've seen. It's a clear pipe there.
Yeah, I didn't say that.
Yeah, David Whitehead's old cellar, eh? But he came down here as a kid. And you can see it's a big farmhouse. What's interesting when you read David Whitehead's diaries is that him and his brother, because they were quite mechanically minded from an early age, and they'd sort of like dig in the slopes and they'd be building water wheels and little water engines. But he said also that they would make little coal pits. So this is Gambleside, and it's obviously he was imitating in the play what they could already see around them. So the coal pits round at Gambleside, obviously he saw them working, obviously, you know. But anyway, these are the remains of where David Whitehead was born. And there was at least another 3 cottages, I think there was 3, up here just above the farm at Meadowhead. So when you look at the census, sometimes it's hard to understand who was in which house because the way the census is laid out. Well, the next farm along, that's Swinshire Barn, and another coal owner lived on there as well. When he was, well, the Whiteheads weren't coal owners, were they? Sorry. But another local industrialist bloke lived next door, and we'll have a look at that in a minute. So this is Meadowhead, and there's a great big hole down here as well. It looks like it could have gone into the workings because the upper mountain mine is up near Meadowhead. And when you get behind the farm, you can see where a drift went in. There's an awful lot of geological fault in here. That's why Gambleside is right down at the bottom and Swinshire is up near the top of the hill, because there's not just one fault, there's many faults that bring the upper mountain mine up here as well. This is the remains of Swinshire Barn Farm. And Swinshire Barn Farm, you've got a bit of history about it itself. For a while, on the census, the pit was known as Swinshire Field. Now Swinshire Barn, as I understand it, is where the young Peter Pickup was born, or certainly where the family lived when he was baptised in 1828. Now, Peter and Jane Pickup, Peter Senior, now he was a real character, and if you read Moses Heap's diary, Moses will tell you a few things about Peter. Peter Senior and his wife Jane, they lived here, and one of the children was Peter Junior. Now Peter Pickup Senior, even though he was a farmer, he was quite well to do really. He was the one who sorted the poor rates out in Loughclough. He owned coal mines as well. He owned the Cupola Colliery, he owned the Beehive and Union Terrace and things like that. He was, you know, he was getting on, was Peter. It was also, I forget how it is that Moses Heap describes him, but that he was a bit of a dry character as well. Canny, he said, he was a canny guy. Now, back up where I'm living now, if you call somebody canny, it means that they're really good to get on with, they're great, they're smashing, bob on. But down here, if you call somebody canny, it means there could be a little bit of cunning mixed in with it. Anyway, one of the tales that Moses Heap tells about Peter was, and I don't think it was in this house, but one night Peter heard some stirrings downstairs, and he got up in the middle of the night with his gun because he thought there was an intruder. And he was going along the passageway in the dark, and he heard something. So he up with the gun, bang! And with a thud, something fell to the floor. It was a cow. He'd shot a cow that was coming through from the shipping into the farm, and he became quite infamous for that. In fact, one of the guys that was involved with the Goodshire Chapel, who was a musician, obviously we know musicians around here were very famous, the Dean Layrocks, and then we've got the Hudsons, and he wrote a bit of a song about Peter Pickup, a bit of a disparaging ditty about the shooting of the cow. And apparently I think Peter bought the song off him, and and he wouldn't let him use it anymore. So that was Peter Pickup for you. But there's more. In the background we've got Oak Mill. We're still stood in Swinshire Barn. We've got Oak Mill, and then you can see up to where the radio masts were. And at the bottom of the hill there you've got New Lathe and Bridgeley Bank. Now Oak Mill, it's ironic you can see Oak Mill from here, because Oak Mill basically, that killed Peter Pickup Senior. Not actually working in the mill, it was his mill, he was building it, he was quarrying his own stone for it. And in 1842 his young son Peter was watching out for him as he was working in the quarry, that if any big stones moved, any danger, he had to shout out and tell his dad of the danger. And sadly, before young Peter could do or say anything, a big rock slipped and killed Peter Senior just before the mill was finished. That was sad. But like we say, we can see behind us the radio masts. Well, the pickups worked coal up there for years and years and years. The Cupola Colliery and the Hamilton Hill Colliery. And then they lived on Bridgeley Bank Farm, and Peter Jr. married the girl next door at New Lathe, the Hudsons. And then Peter Jr., he joined with Lord Crawshaw, Sir Thomas Brooks, and they became Brooks and Pickup, and they opened up the Townley collieries. So he came and he was born up here at Swinshire Barn. We're above Meadowhead, just between me and Tussie here. You can see where there's a drift gone in. It could be really, really old. It might have been out to do with a modern pit, and we've got Meadowhead there. And like we said, you know, the Whitehead brothers would have grown up seeing these pits working. That's why they involved them in their playing and that. There's lots of bits of faults in the upper mountain up here, so you know, that's why there's drifts all over the place.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you can see where it goes in at the side of the engine bed. Got a name on it?
No.
So this is where the drift into the Harts Hill district was.
Like the white, eh?
There?
Yeah.
I'll show you on the plan. There was a road out from the pit bottom, came to daylight the other side of that wall, across the weir, and then in at the other side, and this was known as the Harts Hill district. And apparently the coal was a lot harder to get in this area, so the pitmen, they just worked a month in this area, then went back onto down other districts in Gambleside where it were easier going. Like they had the punishment here for a month at a time. So this was the Harts Hill district. That's where the cabin was there, that flat ground. And we can see where the drift is here, or was, going in there. Sadly there's no sign of them now on the other side.
Walked over, isn't it though? What's it? Banging, whatever, wall is.
Well, so Mike Rothwell said about 1907 down here, when they came back. Swinshire cabin around about the similar time, but when the First World War finished, they were round Swinshire then, Gibbill Laneway, apparently, because the manager said that when the armistice, all the factory whistles were going to blow off for the armistice, and everybody were going to go home for a day, and the manager said he didn't want word being sent underground. But as it was, a bloke had hauled out into the field, the workings were that close to the surface, he'd hauled out into the fields on Utley's field, and he heard all the whistles going in Croucher Booth as he was sat having his bait. So he came back in the pit and told all the blokes, and they cleared off. The manager never did know how they got to know. But yeah, there'd have been a cabin here, a men's cabin, main drift and a travelling road, all his chain right through. Yeah?
Nice working here in summer.
In summer, yeah.
Yeah, well, down here, you know,
grand.
Yeah.